Has anybody ever told you, hey, you told me this thing? And you're like, no, I
Hmm.
didn't. And they're like, yes, you did.
Well, and then I'm like, oh, you're gaslighting me because you don't remember. And I'm like, well,
Ooh.
you're the one with the drinking problem, so I think I'm a more reliable one here.
Welcome to Scary Mystery Surprise.
Where we talk about scary things that surprised us around the internet.
I'm Edwin.
And I'm Michelle. Edwin, what do you know about doppelgangers?
That they're creepy. And I have an interesting story later on if you let
What?
me.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited. Doppelganger literally translates to double walker, which is fascinating to me. It's a German word. And it's not to be confused with like a look-alike or a dead ringer, or like when someone dates the exact same type of person over and over
Which
and
is
over again.
common. Everybody has a type. Admit it. Admit it.
Everyone has a type. It's fine. Apparently mine is old, sad eyes.
I think of like Saint Bernard eyes.
I guess. I'm just like, okay. But anyway, back to doppelgangers. Let's see, where was I? Doppelgangers are different than just lookalikes or your type or whatever. You know, like they're different. Doppelgangers are not just other people that are similar to you. They are exact carbon copies of you. And in fact, emulate everything about you, at least in a ghostly reflection.
Imagine that. Oh, no.
I know. Also, seeing your own doppelganger is considered an extremely bad omen. The lore goes, if you see your doppelganger, you die shortly afterwards. Which I also think this is why TikTok is loving this concept right now, because it is trending on TikTok as people pretending to be their own doppelgangers and making videos of it.
Oh, that is good. And creepy. Okay, I can see that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, you know, the crazy thing is there's been several strange cases throughout history of people seeing their own doppelgangers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one of the most famous is the strange case of Emily Sage. Have you ever heard of her?
It rings a bell, but that's a creepy name for some reason.
I know.
Oh.
Well, we're going to the time machine. So,
all right, let's go.
Yeah, here we go. Here we are in 1845.
What's the vibe as in like what's going on? What kind of...
We're in Europe. We're in Latvia.
Okay.
So, Edwin, you are a simple schoolgirl attending an exclusive girls' school in Latvia. So, you know, all of which that entails, I imagine maybe like pigtails. You clearly have petticoats. And, you know, you're there to learn. You're at an exclusive girls' school. You have a new teacher, and her name is Miss Emily Sage. Your new teacher, Miss Emily Sage, is writing your lesson on the chalkboard. You like her a lot. She's from France, she's around 32, and a lot kinder than some of the other teachers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and she's popular with the students. But you've overheard some of the other teachers gossiping that apparently Miss Sage has had 19 different schools over the past 16 years.
Ooh, red flag.
So that's like 19 different jobs, yeah, in the past 16 years, which is a little suspicious. I mean, could there be a reason? And, you know, the staff is scared that she'll just move on at the earliest opportunity, which you think would be unfortunate because you like her as a teacher. You're sitting with 13 other students in your class while Miss Sage writes on the board, and her back is to the room. All of a sudden, another woman appears right beside her, mirroring her image and movements exactly. It seemed to have no unique awareness of its surroundings or of what was going on. You and the other students describe it as if the teacher, Miss Sage, had been copied. The same way a mirror image would be, but only not reversed. And the instant was bewildering enough for those who witnessed it And then when you told people about it, nobody would believe you. At least, not at first.
That is the worst feeling ever.
Oh, 1,000%. Especially if it's 13 students being like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, what?
The second time it happened, Miss Sage was sitting in the school hall eating lunch, and it was relatively empty at the time, but the few people that were present were alarmed to see a ghostly apparition blink into existence right behind her.
Okay, all right.
Once again, it started copying her movements as she ate. Emily was sitting down, but the doppelganger stood up. And while no food could be seen, the doppelganger's hands moved as if she were eating. And Emily herself seemed completely unaware of the doppelganger's presence.
Unaware? Like she couldn't see?
Uh-huh. She had no idea.
But everyone else could see.
Yeah. And then her ghostly double began to wander beyond her immediate vicinity. Importantly, it began to appear as though it was mirroring her own minds and actions, but diverging away from what she was doing. Emily asked a colleague to watch her class while she helped some other students in the garden. And at one point during the lesson, Emily walked back in. The teacher that was filling in left, and the students at their desk thought nothing of it until they looked out the window and saw that the real Emily Sage was still working in the garden, and the doppelganger simply sat in the seat silently watching them.
That is the creepiest thing I think I've heard you tell me.
It's just sitting there watching them. And although Emily confirmed that she had been outside the whole time, school officials documented in their notes that at the exact time of her sighting in the classroom, she had wished to be indoors teaching her sewing class instead of working in the garden.
Okay, I don't even know what's going on, but that is beyond creepy. Is she doubling herself?
I mean, that's a good question, because you and a few other brave students find the courage to approach the apparition finally.
Everybody's just been observing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone's like, I imagine this time when she's just sitting in the classroom, this was the time that you did this. Because it's you're looking outside, you're seeing the teacher. You're looking inside, you're seeing the teacher.
Finally, we're approaching. Okay, we're approaching.
Yeah, so you get brave enough to go up to her. As you touch her, your hands are met with a strange resistance. The air immediately surrounding the figure was like thick fabric. Emily's doppelganger eventually became a permanent fixture at the school.
What? She got a job.
No, I mean, she basically people saw it so much that it just became like an average thing. And also, she'd often say she felt tired or drained whenever it materialized, as the appearances became more frequent. Whatever it was also draining her. But obviously, unfortunately for Emily, it had a habit of not only confusing people, but absolutely freaking people out. So a number of parents complained, and she was asked to leave. And now you, as her student, understood why she could never stay in one place too long. I do have some theories, but there are some other weird cases throughout history of people seeing their actual doppelgangers and acknowledging them that are pretty crazy. Because it happened to Abraham Lincoln.
What?
I mean, this is one of the stories, is that he was laying down on a couch. He looked in the mirror and he saw himself in the reflection, and then he saw a double of himself. And in the double of himself, looked sick, didn't look well. And so he told Mary Todd Lincoln, who was a famous spiritualist, and she was like, "Oh, it means you're gonna win a second term, but you're not gonna live through your second term." And then, of course, Catherine the Great, the Empress of Russia, apparently woke up one night. She was woken up by servants who had reported seeing her enter the throne room, And she was like, well, I went to bed 3 hours ago, so that's not possible. And so she got up and she went into the throne room, and there was someone, well, her, sitting on the throne. And she saw the doppelganger sitting there and immediately ordered guards to shoot it. And
that's one
they,
way
of course, the muskets had no effect on the doppelganger, and it eventually faded. And then the empress died shortly afterwards.
Whoa.
This is kind of a different take on it, but also I still think it counts as a doppelganger. There is this German, he's like a writer and a poet, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. So he was a famous writer in his day. He was riding along a riding path, and he saw a mysterious stranger ride towards him and then past him. And he looked at the man, and he was startled because the guy looked exactly like him, but wearing different clothes. And so he just thought it was so odd. Then 8 years later, he happened to be riding down the same path, the opposite direction, and suddenly he recalled seeing his double 8 years ago, and he looked down and he realized he was wearing the same clothes that the mysterious stranger had been wearing 8 years ago when he rode by him.
Like a time travel type of thing.
Yeah, like a Matrix glitch.
That can happen.
I know. So like the doppelganger has like a few theories that are pretty cool. Obviously the Matrix glitch, like I feel like that's a pretty obvious like dimensional thing going on with the Goethe story. But also other theories are like mysterious entities, astral projections, the embodiment. Like I feel like with Emily Sage, it was like the embodiment of one's thoughts and wishes being so powerful that they manifest, like the thing that she really wanted to be doing was what her doppelganger was doing. Like maybe she just wanted to be standing up and eating for some reason.
I mean, I remember a phrase one of my teachers said at one point, like where she was like, oh, I only have 2 arms, because she wanted to help us all or whatever.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I remember some of her phrases were like, there's only one of me.
Right.
So I'm thinking like, what if this teacher really wanted to be in 2 places?
Right.
Like,
and for some reason she knew how to do it. Didn't really know how to do it, but was doing it.
And was fired from it, ironically.
It was kept getting fired for her talents.
That sucks. See, you were getting 2 teachers for the price of one.
Yeah. I mean, why not? That's amazing. But also that particular thing is called biolocation, which is like when someone's in multiple locations. That's like a real specific.
As a name?
Yeah, I found the name. It's biolocations. It's a phenomenon. It's been in like a variety of different like religious contexts and like Greek legends and Christian traditions and occultism. So it's like a thing. Like I feel like that's kind of tied to her story, is that it's like she's a doppelganger due to biolocation. You know what I mean? Like that's
interesting.
I don't think it felt harmful to anybody. It didn't seem like it was implying that it was like it was scary, because like, what the hell is it?
I mean, did anything happen to her after?
I know, it just goes blank. There's not even a death date. She falls off the map or whatever.
So she's still alive.
She's been alive this whole time. But yeah, and then, glitch in the Matrix, of course. That seems to explain it when the other one isn't aware of like anything that's going on around them, is that it's just kind of a glitch in the Matrix. But then maybe the freakiest story is based in demonology, and it's said that certain parasitic spirits, which can impersonate anyone, including their hosts. For this reason, people have suggested that doppelgangers, especially those that can display a level of intelligence and can interact with the world around them, might in fact be demons.
One of my friends has a theory that there are no ghosts, there are no entities. Even though we like watching Ghost Adventures and like all these other things, he says that anything that still roams or that's roaming around the earth, there's no explanation to, is something demonic, something evil, just cannot be anything else. So, I mean,
that's one interpretation of it. You just got to go with, whatever's in your gut about that. There's definitely things that roam around that have not been alive. Not necessarily could it be evil. It's probably more neutral, but, some stuff that's not been alive that wanders around.
Oh.
And then what about when people saw a doppelganger and they died? And this was like really interesting to me, is that weirdly enough, in scientific research, it's supported by a number of tests that subjects found that when certain areas of the brain were stimulated, participants felt an outward presence of themselves standing in the same room as them. And it's theorized that natural stimulation of certain areas of the brain through injury, illness, or a chemical imbalance could cause this hallucination, and you see your doppelganger during these illnesses and injuries, which would then go on to cause death. And that would explain the lore around it.
Science, it ruins everything, but also,
I mean,
it makes sense.
It makes sense for at least one type of it. You know, it makes sense for Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great's story, that makes sense with, you know, like.
But who was shooting at it? They must have seen it, right? Like,
yeah, they must have seen it. Oh yeah, you're right. They must have seen it.
Yeah, they must have seen it. Or maybe they're just following orders, otherwise they get shot. Like,
they also, I mean, honestly, you're right. There's no way either of those could be. Like, I don't know what that is, but okay, we'll shoot the throne. But I mean, you know, given that there's so many differences between these experiences, which is really fascinating because there's clearly like tons of different ways it could go. But one thing you definitely don't want to see is someone standing behind you in the mirror that looks just like you. Or
you like just all like Abraham Lincoln style of
oh yeah, you in the future. No. Nobody needs that. Oh. Nobody needs that.
My sister had a picture taken of her at this party, and apparently she wasn't at that party. Like, they showed her a picture and she wasn't there.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. What did people say? They were
like, you were there, and she's like, I was not there. What do you even like? To this day, I still want to see that picture, but like, she says she's creeped out by it. Like, she just doesn't want. But everybody swears like, yes, she was there, and like, no, she wasn't. Like, the closest explanation she has is like, maybe someone that looks like me was there, and they just
thought it was her.
It's a party. Like, maybe people were drinking and they thought it was her, and they were just convinced, but she wasn't there. And yeah. Very creepy, very creepy.
That's terrifying.
My sister's alive. She's doing well, but
okay, good. That's good.
The scientific thing is like, if you see yourself, right? But like, technically she didn't see herself. Like, other people saw her, and I've heard other stories too, of like people seeing a person that isn't there. Like, for example, you see somebody, like, let's say you see your brother. He's walking down the hallway, and then you call him, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm at work. Let me call you back." It's like, oh, like. What?
Well, that feels like a Matrix slip, you know? Like, that's like the stuff where it's just like, oh, well, that's pretty weird.
Anything glitch in the Matrix thing that I've seen on TikTok is like, it's creepy. I've seen the one with the bird just kind of standing still in the air.
There's one where there's a bunch of birds just standing still. It's like a bunch of them just stopped all of a sudden. It's pretty weird.
Weird little glitchy things. And that's a good topic, actually, for an episode. Just glitches. Weird little glitchy things. And that's a good topic, actually, for an episode. Just glitches.
Well, we don't know what your doppelganger's capable of, so.
Just watch out. Oh, man.
Well, that's all I got. So what are we going to talk about next week, Edwin?
I think it'll be a surprise, Michelle. It'll be a surprise.
It always is. Scary Mystery Surprise is hosted by Michelle Newman and
Edwin Covarrubias. This podcast was edited and sound designed by Sarah Vorhees Wendel of VW Sound.